Raiders Chargers coming up this Sunday. Chargers -1.5-point favorites in Las Vegas. Remember the last time Raiders and Chargers played at Allegiant Stadium? It was maybe the most exciting game of last season. Really? The Raiders go into overtime, rip the hearts out of Chargers fans everywhere, all 7 of them, knocked them out of the playoffs, knocked us into the playoffs for the most miraculous late season runs in Raider history, and one of the most exciting games in Raider history. That was the last time these two faced off at Allegiant Stadium. And I was thinking, like, with how good it felt sweeping the Broncos in back-to-back-to-back seasons, here's another reason why not to tank. The Chargers are a game behind the Jets in the wild card race. Imagine knocking them out of the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. Like if they're one game out, let's say that they end the season one game out of making the playoffs, we can say, yeah, we kept the Chargers out of the playoffs in back-to-back seasons. That's worth dropping back a few spots in the draft.
Yeah, honestly, like we're at what, number 10 right now, projected number 10. Mm-hmm. I see us. I read something that the Raiders are projected to go on a 5-game winning streak. So the first 2 that we won plus the next 3, Chargers, Rams, and Patriots, I think. Mm-hmm. No, 6-game winning streak, because after that they were favored against the Steelers. I could totally see it happening.
And then it's Niners and Chiefs.
Niners and Chiefs, the last 2.
We were not going to be favored against them. Yeah.
No. So it would be sweet, but I don't see us with the way we're playing now, offensively specifically. I don't see us, just taking a dump the rest of the season. So we're not going to get a top 10 pick anyway. We're going to be in that purgatory, 12 to 15.
I mean, if we were tanking, we were going to tank when we were 2-7, right? Like it's like we're not. But I'm just saying, like,
yeah.
To all you people out there that have been begging for the Raiders to tank, like, remember how good it felt sweeping the Broncos. Remember how good it felt knocking the Chargers out of the playoffs last season. Remember how good. Like, that's why we're watching, right? Like, you gotta. It's like, oh, if we don't win a Super Bowl, then nothing matters. It's like, no. You can get, like, you're supposed to enjoy watching your team. Like, let's get some enjoyment out of this season, and being a piece of knocking the Chargers out of the playoffs will feel great. And we got a decent shot, right? We're only -1.5 point. They're only -1.5 point favorites. Mm-hmm. Not very big. Yeah. They have on IR J.C. Jackson, Joey Bosa, and 1, 2, 3 defensive tackles. Right, so they got an all pro IR, right?
Well, also the biggest one I think is Rashawn Slater, mm-hmm. the left tackle. That's the biggest one for me, because we got to get pressure on this dude. He's special.
Well, let's start there then. Let's start there with Justin Herbert. He averages 273 yards per game. He has 19 touchdowns, 7 interceptions this season, 92.7 rating. The Raiders' opposing quarterbacks.
Oh,
this
God.
is depressing. We've given up 103.6 QBR, last in football. And opposing quarterbacks have the best completion percentage against us in all of football. So if Justin Herbert has time, they're going to put up 45 on us.
Easy.
If he has time. This is going to there's ways around it, right? We get Nate Hobbs back. He can keep, like, because Austin Eckler's so good in the passing game. If Hobbs can cover him, that's a big thing. They don't have all their receivers, and they haven't for most of the season, so that helps too. But
dude, their backup receivers like Palmer and that other dude, those guys are good, man.
They got talent. It's a top 5 roster talent wise. The Chargers are a top. There's maybe 3 teams more talented than Chargers, pure talent wise, but they're hurt, and Brandon Staley, right? So Justin Herbert's going to be slinging it. Like you said, that having your tackle out, if Max Crosby can make life miserable, and if our defensive tackles can get in, I think they have a backup guard too, or like a struggling guard that's like giving up like some insane amount of pressures. If our defensive tackles, like last week, do well, like the Seahawks are terrible in the trenches, offensively and defensively, right? Like they're awful, right? And so this is the rare time where our offensive line did well and our defensive tackles and stuff started getting pressures. If we can keep that momentum going against a similar built team, hopefully we can slow down Herbert and company.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one, man. I think we're not going to be able to slow him down. I just don't think, just because we just don't have the talent to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Out of those 7 interceptions, he throws them in bunches. So we have to really take our chances and go for be more aggressive and go for these turnovers, man.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that's really our only hope, is to stop Giants by turning the ball over. They don't particularly rush the ball that well.
Terrible running game.
Yeah.
Awful running game.
Eckler is more of a threat out of the backfield receiving wise. And you get him the ball, he's a legit power lifter. Like, he's strong as hell.
Yeah.
So if you get him the ball moving downhill, he's not going to try to be shifty with it. He's going to run right over you. So we need to make sure that our linebackers are on point, our safeties are on point. But if there's ever a game for us to play old school Raiders secondary football, it's this game, because we have to stay in their jock. We have to play aggressive, because our only shot, we're not going to slow him down sagging back in his zone. He's just not going to do it, because Herbert will make the bad decision and still complete it most of the time, because he's that good.
The worst quarterbacks in the NFL this season, Russell Wilson's, like these terrible quarterbacks we played have all had career games against.
Yeah, the best games against us this year.
Right. Imagine what Justin Herbert with time will do. So again, it's their strength versus our weakness for sure. The good news is we don't have to play the run hardly at all. Just DB, defensive ends and tackles, go get the quarterback. DBs, head in a swivel, play aggressive, go for the ball, right? If you're not, go for the tackle, but go for the ball, like a little extra ball, less body, 20% more ball, 20% less body. They'll know what to do, which is a big part of defense, right? Like, if you know what your responsibilities are, and the game plan is simplified, get the quarterback, get interceptions, hopefully they can play fast. On the flip side, the great news is they have literally the worst run defense in football. They give up 5.6 yards per carry. Literally. And we have Josh motherfucking Jacobs. So he the good news today on the injury report, with that calf that he almost didn't play last week, and then he did and ran for 303 yards. He was in limited practice today, Wednesday, when we're recording this. So Jacobs is playing, and that's
more maintenance than anything. Just making sure he's okay.
So like the calf issue it was a bigger issue on Sunday than people thought. Like, an hour before the game,
it was a game time decision. Yeah, it was a game time decision.
So it's not nothing, but everything's trending good, right? Everything's trending in the right direction, especially running for 303 yards. So, and they don't have Joey Bosa, which is big. I mentioned 3 defensive tackles on IR. So the momentum that this O-line has been building, like they've been getting, it's like when a boxer gets knocked out, he takes like 2 or 3 kind of like warm-up fights, that's what we're in the middle of with our O-line. Some really bad defensive fronts for our O-line to kind of get their groove back a little bit. Bad run defense, bad defense, half the defensive line is on IR. This is potentially another huge game for Josh Jacobs and a really, really good confidence game for our O-line.
It definitely can be. I think it was the perfect storm last game. They had 2, elite pass rushers, and we didn't quite have our groove, offensive line wise in the first game. Plus, you had a jumpy Derek Carr trying to force the ball to Devontae Adams a little bit. Maybe he was just a little juiced up and made some poor decisions with the ball. I think we're a lot more. The waters are a lot calmer this time around. A little bit more clarity in the offensive line. A little bit more clarity in our game plan of what we need to do as far as running the ball and using Josh Jacobs. A little bit more clarity, a little bit more kind of a better game plan going forward. For Devontae Adams, the emergence of Mack Hollins, Foster Moreau being a little bit more reliable. I think that'll calm Carr down a little bit as well. For whatever reason, whenever Carr plays Khalil Mack, he gets real jumpy, and we need to do what we did the first time we played Khalil Mack when he was still with the Bears, and just keep it simple, chip him, make it difficult for him, and use the running game.
Yeah, there's only one all-pro defensive end to worry about, which is nice. And he's slowed down. Khalil's he's getting up there. He's not the same Khalil Mack that was with us. Slow down a little, still good, but slow down a little bit. And that is, I think, the biggest matchup is Eleumanor versus Khalil Mack. Don't look now. I can't believe I was reading this right. Illuminor's gotten really good. He hasn't allowed a sack or a quarterback hit since week 3. You know how I feel about PFF grades, but for what it's worth, he has an overall grade of at least 70 in 4 of the last 5 games. And the only time that he didn't get at least 70 was when Colton Miller was out. And he had to play left tackle instead of right tackle, right? So he was playing out of position.
Mm-hmm.
And he's tied for the 10th highest grade offensive tackle in that time frame. Like Eleumanor was like, he's found his stroke. And this we were talking about how the O-line can get their groove back because they got it easy. This is opposite for Eleumanor. This is his chance to show, like, okay, it wasn't a fluke these last few games. It wasn't just bad defensive fronts I was playing against. I'm going against Khalil freaking Mack, and I'm going to hold. And I'm going to now. They're going to hopefully game plan correctly, right? Chip him with the tight end, have
extra offensive linemen
as well. Yeah, like all those things. But that's a matchup to watch very, very closely.
It was surprising when I saw it, but then when I looked at the tape, because look, if I'm making or looking specifically for the offensive line, like if I'm looking at like a running play that went bad or a bad protection, that's when I focus on the offensive line. When I started watching, when I read this, I look at a couple of plays from different quarters of the last game, and yeah, he's playing a lot better. We can do without all the penalties, but as far as his play goes, he's going to get playing much better. And this sets us up a little bit for Thayer Munford, who is, I think, PFF's highest graded rookie on our team. Actually moving and playing the guard and taking over Alex Barr's position either later this year or next year, because Alex Barr has been going downhill, dude. He's been playing worse and worse every game. But we have that flexibility with Munford. And that's in the 7th round is when you draft a offensive lineman and use flexibility as a positive, not in the 1st round. Okay. I don't want to draft a 1st round tackle because he can also play guard. Like, you better be a fucking badass at playing tackle. But yeah, that's a possibility as well moving forward. But it's going to be, every game presents its challenges. I think that the confidence that we have in the last few games is really going to be put to the test this next game, and hopefully we come through.
This O-line gave up 6 sacks in week 1, the first time we played the Chargers. It's a good thing that they're back together, right? And that was so no Bosa, and we found our stroke. That number better be drastically low, like 2, considering everything. Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Max Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.